I need to see you get on. Okay.
Oh, really quick. I do want to say Dave is like out mowing and like there's things and like, so the kids are like on their own kind of right now. So if I might be kind of in and out, but anyway.
That's okay.
I'm trying my hard. Yeah, right.
Okay. So Tiff, kind of say what you said again. Welcome to the Nice Team Call. I feel like my intros are always the same. You guys get that. Super like not planned. But will you say kind of what you said like right before we recorded about how, like what you just said, you remember for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is my second time around coaching, and my first time coaching was probably in 2015, 2016 era. And I had like started doing it when I got laid off from my last job. So I was like unemployed when I was doing it, and I had all the time in the world. And honestly, I was doing a lot of the stuff, but I was doing all of the wrong stuff. I feel like I was like digging into the back office and I was doing all these like
busy work,
sort of, yeah, like busy work. And I wasn't ever like making relationships. I wasn't like reaching out to people. I wasn't building my network. I wasn't doing any of that stuff. So it was basically it was basically just my warm market. People who followed me on Facebook at that time were the only people that knew about it. This was like before Instagram. Well, it was like the very beginning of Instagram.
Oh, wow.
I think. Or like, because I did have Instagram and I had like just gotten it, but yeah, it was like way back when. But I was in the world and I like just didn't really do anything with it.
And I think that's like so funny and something that might even be like helpful to share for Thursday night's happy hour. Like whenever you decide, like, I don't know if you wanted to do one of those topics since you have volleyball until 7:30, but even if you jump in and like share your story sometime between like now and Thursday or Wednesday or Thursday or whatever, even Friday, sharing that nugget, because I feel like this is something I get told a lot, like, or like whether it's from people who are coaches or from like prospects who want to become coaches, but they are like super, super busy. And they're like, if I only had more time, or, you know, maybe I'm getting told a lot right now, like once I have this baby and I'm home all the time, and I have all the time in the world, or once summer hits and if I'm a teacher, like I have all summer. And I listened to some training, I think from Bob Heilig recently. And he said that like, if you can't make your business work when you are busy, you won't be able to make it work when you have all the time in the world, right? Because I feel like, and I can so say this because like when I started my business, I had like an hour that I could devote to my business when I first started. And then I remember when I did go full time and I had all the time in the world, like, yeah, I saw the increase because I was able to focus more time on like my coaches and mentoring, but I had all the time in the world and I found a lot of time I was like scrolling. I was doing like the non-productive stuff. I was scrolling. I was waiting for people to message me. I was doing like all the not like super actual productive stuff. And I wasn't like living my life. I was just like, oh, I have all the time in the world to work my business. I'm going to work my business. Right. So I think that's like something that's super important where like, don't wait to have more time to work your business. Like, work it in the pockets of time you have now, because when you do have more time, which you won't, if you don't make your business work when you don't have time, not going to happen. You won't make it happen when you have more time.
Amen.
It's just crazy. But I'll have Claire kind of jump in, and I'm really excited for those of you who are on live and then those of you who are watching the recording to listen to Claire. And I think it's just like, you've been coaching for what, 4 years?
4.5 years? Yeah, 4.5, yeah.
And she joined actually with it's been like a whole debacle. Like it was one of my diamond coaches, Claire joined with, and then she quit. And then, so Claire adopted you?
Inherited, yeah.
Inherited, yeah. And we've grown like super close. I feel like it was super meant to be.
Oh, absolutely.
But I just think like your journey over the last like year even has been super, not just like inspiring, but like being able to share like how you've gone through so many different stages and like where you are now, almost basically coming like full circle back to the basics and how you just, you know, so I'm just going to let you jump in so I don't spill anything that you're going to say.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine. Hi, I'm Sarah. I've been coaching for, like Lauren said, for like 4.5 years. So my journey is very unique in the fact that I did all the right things very, very early on. From the moment that I signed up, I was plugged in. I was doing invites. I was doing my checklist. I was doing the 5-3-2. I was doing all the right things, except taking care of myself. I wasn't following the meal plans. I wasn't doing my workouts. I wasn't really doing personal development. I was doing like a couple minutes here and there, but nothing like real, right? I wasn't doing any personal development that was like real. I wasn't having like any aha moments. It was just kind of like going through the motions. And so I got to Diamond in August of 2015 or something. And I loved it. And it was like so fun. And I was so proud. And then a year later, I lost it. And what had happened was I started to burn out because I was doing all of these invites, and it was like I was building this house of cards. I was building on sand. I didn't have a foundation to my business, and in my opinion, the foundation is health and fitness. The foundation is an understanding of who you are. It's a belief in yourself. It's a belief in the products. It's a belief in Beachbody. It's a belief in what we do. And I didn't have any of that. All I had was a whole bunch of invites and controlling behaviors and manipulation, honestly. I would send 20 follow-ups, people would block me. And I was just doing all of this like really masculine type of energy work. And it wasn't getting me anywhere. And people kept falling off, and, they would sign up, and then I wouldn't ever hear from them. And it was just kind of this, I was always playing catch up, right? I was always worried about the next month. I would hit Success Club 10 almost every month. I was an all-star, I was super proud, but deep in my heart, I knew, I was like, this is a sham. This is a sham. Like I remember telling, it was either Ann or Lauren, but I was like, I could only get that far. I remember I would watch Andrea, right? And, she would sign up these coaches, and, she said, all you have to do is sign up 5 to 6 coaches every single month, and then I was doing that and nothing was moving. My volume was stuck. Everything was just stuck. And so I continued like this for a while, trying to get my diamond back, right? Trying. Just continuing to do the same thing over and over and over, and never really committing to myself. And so last year, 2018, in about June, Lauren knows, I just kind of gave up. I like rage quit everything Beachbody without actually quitting. I hung on to everything, but I let my entire business just kind of like fall to pieces, and it did. And honestly, right now, I think I'm back at coach. But I had to do that. And so what I did from about June till now is I really just like sat with Claire, and I worked on myself, and I didn't even commit to any programs, you guys. Like I worked out, but I felt like I really couldn't do both at the same time. I had to really work on my emotional state and my mindset and my belief in me. I had to believe in me, because like what was happening is I was doing all of this action and there was no belief to back it up. And so it really didn't get me anywhere. And I was just attracting all the wrong people to me. And so I went hardcore into my mindset and into my emotions, and I dug up shame and grief and some very, very real, raw, and I might cry, but because I cry all the time now, some very real, raw emotions for me that I wasn't looking at. I'm a personality type that is very sensitive, and I tend to take on other people's shit as my own. And I think that's pretty common. And I remember I would get a lot of like no's, and people would say things to me that were hurtful, and I never processed, or they would say things hurtful to me about the business and about their own opinions about what I loved, right? I love Beachbody. I do. But I took on all of their stuff as my own, and it just kind of cluttered up my brain. And I didn't know who I was and what was mine and what wasn't. So the past year has just been me like sifting and sorting, and I had to really I had to really, maybe that's the word, I had to really be mindful. I had to imply mindfulness into my life and just kind of really listen to my thoughts and my feelings and because I just had a lot of, it was just really kind of like jumbled up, right? And so I got clarity on so much. I learned to believe in myself, you guys. I love Beachbody. I had hangups with Beachbody. I had hangups with myself. I had shame around Beachbody, around our programs. I had shame about being me. I had fear. I had all of this stuff, and my emotions were just like all jumbled. And now it feels like the pieces are all kind of like how they're supposed to be. And I have this larger picture, and I'm so much more clear on my vision and what I want and where I'm going. The main thing though that kind of happened from all of this is I came back to what I should have done in the very beginning when I first started, is take care of Claire. Do the programs, do the meal plans, drink my Shakeology, don't skip. I was skipping workouts all the time, right? Like I would do programs and I would not do the last week of the program just because I was just sabotaging everything. I was sabotaging everything. And in hindsight, it was my thoughts were affecting my actions, right? My thoughts were affecting my emotions that were affecting my action, or emotions, thoughts, actions, or whatever. And I was just sabotaging everything. And so now I'm kind of back to square one, and my priorities are in line. It's Claire and then my business and other people, right? And so I always put myself first, and my health and fitness is it's my rock to my business. And now I just go in like balls to walls on my social media, and I'm just like sharing my results, because I have incredible results that I wasn't even really owning, sorry, I took some notes. But I've been just like, I was embarrassed of Beachbody. I was embarrassed of who I was. I was embarrassed of these programs, and I just hid it all. I didn't talk about Beachbody. I didn't talk about BOD. I didn't talk about Shakeology. I didn't talk about my team. I didn't talk about challenge groups. None of that. And then I'm sitting here like, well, I wonder why people aren't joining my team, guys. Like, what the hell, Lauren? Like, and I wasn't proud. I wasn't confidently sharing what it is I do. Like, hey, I'm a Beachbody coach. And I'm not saying that you have to put it on your bio, like Beachbody coach, but like be proud of what you represent, be proud of the programs, be proud of your results. And the people that you attract they will want that too. When you put the success out there, and when you put out the desire to be fit and to feel good and to grow a team of people that are exactly like you. And I'm not saying that like your team has to be built on a passion for health and fitness, because I think that everybody can like kind of build their teams based on different things, but you have to at least incorporate health and fitness. You have to be sharing about the products, because that's how we make money. We make money selling these products. And that's like, we are in sales. And that was the other thing, is there's just like a whole bunch of like ins and outs and like all of these little technical things that I didn't want to own. And the truth is, we are in sales. We have a product to sell. And if you're not putting it out there, no one is going to know what the hell you're even doing, and you're going to confuse people. And so as I got clear on in my vision and in the things that I do and the things that I want, I'm able to then talk to people easier and talk to them more confidently and have clarity in my voice when they ask me, well, what do you do, right? I'm not confused anymore as to what it is I do. I'm very clear and confident, and it's almost like it's just all very fluid. There's not a lot of like, you know, blocks in the communication. And it's almost like, this is what I offer, take it or leave it. I don't have anything else for you. Sorry. And so it's kind of my vibe, and I'm almost done here. But so my results, okay, so I really kind of dove back in with the beginning of April. It's only been like a week or two, even though it feels like it's been a super long time, but it hasn't been. I decided to run a challenge group in the month of April, and I scheduled everything out, and then I even scheduled it out like into the summer. And so I have my challenge group scheduled. I have my sneak peek scheduled. It all is just like, I know what to expect. And here's what's happened is I've had people reach out to me, and they're like, oh my God, you look amazing. Like, tell me more. Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? And I signed a coach, which I haven't had Success Club points or a coach in a while. And it was almost instantly, right? Like just instantly when I decided to like really put this out there and like really own what it is I do and like run these challenge groups. Like when they say like, take this business seriously and treat it like a, you know, like a multi-million-dollar, treat it like that, truly treat it like that. And so I've had people reach out to me. I've been talking to a ton of people. It's really fun. And I'm building my prospect list through emails. So when people reach out to me, I get their email, I send them the information, and I follow up once. I'm just like, hey, you know, blah, blah, blah. I don't hound them to death. I'm like, you're grown. Like, and then I offer to send them an email for the next month if they're not interested. So I'm just building this prospect list through email. It feels really professional. It feels really good. So yeah, so that's just kind of, yeah.
I have things that I want to talk about.
Yeah.
And then if you guys have questions, we can do questions. But I think one thing that you said that's super important for everybody to do, especially if you're sitting there and you're like, well, I don't know why I love Beachbody. Like getting clear on that and doing research. Like if you guys haven't researched like what our company is about, if you haven't researched Carl Daikeler, if you haven't followed him and like checked out his stuff, you guys, he is the most laid back, amazing, freaking bomb CEO, business owner you'll ever meet. Like, I mean, if you get to Summit sometime to just like be in his presence a little bit, but like listening to him speak about Beachbody and why he created it and the research behind our products and the research behind Shakeology and the research behind the workouts, like take a week and do that research and really fall in love with this company. Because I can tell you like with my, even just my background, like like any of you guys could do any company out there with health and fitness, right? We could all lose weight somehow, but figuring out why you're here with Beachbody still and sharing that passion with it is huge. And I think like Claire lost that. She lost that for a long time. And now she's like, once she found that, it was easy to share what she was doing because there was, like you said, no shame behind it being Shakeology or it being Beachbody because you had that passion and you re-fell in love with this company. And I think that's so important to have just like that fire because it also helps, I feel like, with objections when people say like, oh, no, the shake is too expensive, or I don't believe in workouts at home, or all the objections, like, you know in your heart why you love it. And you know in your heart what it's doing for your own life. And when you know that and you are clear on that, it's so much easier to like share and work through objections and do your business, right?
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah, and I didn't even, that was like a huge spiel, but apparently it had to come out.
And that was great. No, I was just gonna kind of add in there. So like I started and I never really finished a program, right? And so I think part of it for me was that I never found my passion with Beachbody because we are fitness programs and I never completed one and actually saw the results that I loved. Like I had completed 2. I did right after my son, I did Shipt Shop and I lost like 20 pounds or something, which was great. But I never like really found that passion and like why I love Beachbody, right? Like I think the people that do a program and they have tremendous results, they're the ones that are like, you guys, and they want to tell everybody because they have these amazing results. So it's like, you almost kind of have to go through the program. You do have to go through the program, get results, and then you find your passion for it, I think.
Right. And both Tiff and Allie, you guys have had results with like, Tiff, your results with To Be Mindset, and that's why you've had so much success with that, because your results with that was huge. And Allie, like just your results from when you started, like sharing that and kind of going on like what you said, like we have products to sell. And like right away I was kind of like, ooh, I don't like that. That's kind of, but it reminded me that like, we do have products, but also we're not selling the products, we're selling our journey. So kind of like what you were saying, Claire, like if you're not getting results, you just have products to sell, but nobody's going to want to buy them because they don't see you having the results. They don't see you sharing your journey every day, being like, this is what's helping me with my energy. This is what's helping me lose my baby weight. This is what's helping me X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 gain muscles, right? Like, they don't see that if you're not actually sharing it. So that I also, Claire, I would like if you would share a little bit about that, that chunk of time when you were like, I'm going to offer my own programs. I'm going to offer my own coaching. I'm going to do all these other things, because it was like you were still hung up on like not the Beachbody and trying to do like other things. Like, can you talk about that a little bit more? Because I think that will help with like anybody else who feels like, maybe I need to pair my own thing up with coaching, which isn't bad, but I think you do it in the, I don't know,
I think there's a right way to do it. And so one of the things, because I don't think that it's wrong, because I know like Shakti has her coaching business and then she does Beachbody, and she does them both very well. But I think you almost kind of have to like find your footing in one before you start the other one. But what I was doing, mine was almost like I was trying to figure out who I was and like what I wanted. And so I came full circle. You know, I went through trying to be a life coach, and like I was this and I was that, and I was just doing all these things. And it just never really suited me, because I love Beachbody and I love Beachbody products, and I love being a coach, and I love fitness. And I also love mindset work, right? Which is the other reason that I love Beachbody, is because they incorporate both of those, and I get to have both of my passions as one. But yeah, so I think focusing on just the one thing at first, until you can kind of get your footing within Beachbody, and then see kind of like how you can add in the other things. But I don't think it's a good idea to,
and that's why you guys might see like some of these coaches, I have like a scab on my face. Sorry. That's bugging me. Some of these coaches who, they have now their own like apparel line, or they are doing like, like they have these other side things. And it's because they use their resources with coaching. They like built a super solid bomb ass business, and they use their resources as like, not even resources, but it was almost like they built the freedom with Beachbody, right? That opened the doors to find their other passions that they had, right? So some of them might have been like, oh, I love creating t-shirts, I'm going to do that. Or I love blah, 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 I'm going to do that. Or I love this, and they were able to like, because they freed up all their time. They had endless amounts of resources, as you will say, to do and pursue these other things. And so I think that's like super important, like you said, not to like try and I'm not saying any of you guys are doing that, but I think that's an important topic to think about. Like, I don't know. Anyways, I don't know where I was going with that. But the other thing I wrote down was that I think is really important that you talked about was like, when you got clear on everything, you got your inspired action. And we talk about this a lot, like working from inspired action. But sometimes I think when we're not clear on like our vision, what we want, where we're going, who we are, why we love this business and like the workouts you're doing or whatever, like when we're not clear on that kind of stuff, it's really hard to find that inspired action. So it was like, almost like you got clear on it all, and then that inspired action came. And I literally feel like I witnessed it, because we were like, and you were just like, oh, I'm like clear on all this stuff. And you're like, oh my gosh, I just like planned out the next 3 months or whatever. Like it literally happened within like a week. And I think that's so important. And one reason I love coaching too is like the personal growth work. It's not even personal development, but it's a personal growth work that we like promote as being like so important. Because I can tell you that's like probably one of the biggest things that's changed my life is like, yeah, I've been super fit, but now I'm pregnant. So like now I'm not super fit. I'm fit for pregnant. But like the mindset work is what's completely like changed who I am, right? It's what helped me build my confidence. It's what helped me find my self-worth. It's what helped me found like love in myself again. And I think if we don't do that core work and we don't focus really hard on that, you don't have a business. You really don't. Because what do you share? How are you going to help anybody else do those things if we're not even doing it for ourselves? And it comes back to like leading yourself, right? And doing that and sharing your journey. So I'm like, I think this like call is like super important because then like on Thursday when we do our happy hour, we can talk about these topics and really share that like it's those core things, focusing on you, sharing your journey, and basically like inviting other people to help them get results. And like, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say too, I think personal development too, I think a lot of times we get confused and people, I was doing leadership personal development and like all this personal development that I didn't really have any business doing because I didn't even know who I was. I had no idea who I was. My brain was still like, I was like 17 years old and I didn't know it at the time, but like my brain just kind of like stopped evolving at a certain point. And there's a lot of things I didn't understand. There was a lot of concepts that I was just like misunderstanding. And so I think personal development, I think it needs to be learning who you are, learning what you're about, learning about your personality, learning about like, you know, your birth chart. And like, there's a lot, just kind of like learning how you operate and learning about you, learning your emotions and how you think, and just like taking time to be with yourself. There's so much to that because you can't know what you want, where you want to go, and how you want to run your business if you don't know anything about yourself, because you're just going to be a cheap copycat of someone else, which is all I was for a really long time. And that's not fun. And you're never going to be successful that way because you're going to burn out eventually trying to be Lauren or trying to be Andrea or whoever. Like you're just going to burn out and it's not fun. And people are attracted to your authenticity. They're attracted to who you are, not to who you're trying to be. So I hope that helps.
Well, it's like you said, it's like building a business or a house on cards building a house with cards.
House on sand. So it was a house of cards and then built on sand.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
Whatever. But it's basically like that because you can, like you said, you got to diamond really fast, but because you weren't doing the you work, it fell and it crumbled because you got burnt out. And that's not, and you guys, I've been there too. I've been in the action. We've talked about this so much, like just how for so many years it was like, okay, I must have to do more action. I must not be doing enough. I need to do more invites. I need to do more follow-ups. I need to spend more time working. And it had nothing to do with doing more. It had nothing to do with the action. It had to do with me actually taking time to figure out who Lauren was and like all of the limiting beliefs that I had and like listening to myself. I think like we all have that voice that like we can listen to and we need to trust and like all of that. So I'm going to, if you guys have any questions, I'm going to unmute you and you guys can ask any questions that you do have or anything. We'll open it up. That was nice, quick, 30 minutes.
That was good. I'm not
what was the first step that you did to like find yourself?
That's a good question.
It's a big question.
Yeah, for me or for Lauren?
For you.
Okay.
Oh, for me. Okay. You know, oh man, so it started back in like 2016. I can't even see your face, Tiffany, actually. Let me do this. Okay, there we go. It started in 2016, actually, is when I really started to kind of like dive into all of this work. And I started listening to Abraham Hicks on YouTube. And I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they channel spirit and they really like teach you how thoughts become things, right? And I just really kind of like started to learn about the universe and how it works and how we're all connected, and really just this concept about my thoughts and my emotions affect my actions, and my external reality is a reflection of my mindset and of my emotion. And like once I really started to understand that, I felt so much more in control of everything. And then I got the confidence, and I just kind of kept going from there. And then that led into a whole slew of other things. And so it took me a couple years just to kind of really to really understand it, but I just kept studying and studying and studying. And it opened up a whole new world for me. So really it was just about awareness and like waking up to these truths of the universe and of God that not a lot of people really know of, I don't think. It just really kind of helped me. So
Okay.
And I think too, like, it's a lifelong journey, right? Like,
oh God.
we're gonna constantly evolve. So like, I mean, when you become a mom, it's gonna be like, you're gonna go through this whole other thing too of like trying to find your identity after becoming a mom, right? Not like all this kind of stuff too. So, and I definitely think, Claire, would you say, because I know like with you kind of like, well, not in 2016, but you kind of like dropped like everything you were doing with your business. And I definitely think, and we've talked about this too, where like you can have that happy medium of doing both. Like, I don't want you guys to think like, okay, to find myself, I need to like stop doing all my like productive work, because the productive work is like we're literally 5% of our work is like the productive work, right? It's your checklist, whatever. 95% of the work is that you stuff, is everything like basically we've been talking about. So like if you find like, and I guess like some things that popped up to my head was like, we're, instead of doing like team trainings all the time, like listen to that kind of stuff, listen to the Abraham Hicks stuff, listen to that kind of like PD, instead of listening to podcasts on like leadership, start like funneling into that kind of stuff. Do you have any podcasts that you like really love listening to, Claire, too, that you recommend? Or do you do more audiobooks, don't you?
I do a lot of audiobooks. I don't oh, you know who, okay, Brooke Castillo. She is, yeah, she has a podcast and it's called the Mind, or what is it?
Life Coach School Podcast, I think.
The Life Coach School Podcast. I started with her. Actually, I'm glad that you asked me that, because that's really who I started with, because she's the thoughts become things, but she's not quite so woo-woo about it. She's very like level, like it's very down to earth and she's very practical. So I would definitely start there. That's a fantastic, she's phenomenal. And she has like tons of podcasts.
Right. Okay. If you start there, I would like scroll all the way, like try and go back as far as you can to like stuff where like, because I guess I haven't like listened to her recently, but I would go back to like the beginning. That's kind of who I started with too a couple years ago, was her stuff, and such good stuff. So like even just starting to listen to that kind of stuff, if you feel like you're really struggling with like self versus the leadership stuff, because this stuff you guys can share. Like you can share the ahas you're having with your own like self-discovery, and you can share what you are doing to discover those things, and like that kind of stuff really is like super unique to you, right? And that's like how you can say, ooh, I just had deja vu. Is that weird? Like super authentic to you and like not copycatting anyone.
Yeah, I was gonna say I definitely dropped my whole business and I just kind of like let everything go. But that is not how I would recommend doing it. That's not how everyone has to do it. That's how I was like led to do it. And it's just kind of like my own personal choice. And I really felt like I didn't have a choice. I really felt like learning who I was and had to be my full-time job. And I didn't want to build a business, to be honest. So yeah, that's a very personal thing. But in hindsight, I wish I would have like kept things going in a, you know, and I tried, it just didn't feel aligned. So that's a very personal choice for sure. And everybody's story is completely different.
Right. And I think there was a way that you probably could have kept it like, well, like super simple and doing like, because you were still sharing.
I was still sharing. Yeah. That was the thing. I was just confusing people because I had no clarity on what I was doing. People are like, this girl is all over the freaking place. Like, what is going on? And so just none of it worked.
Right.
None of it worked.
Any other questions? Oh, go ahead, Allie.
Oh, sorry, my cat jumped on me. I don't think I have one. Oh, sorry.
I guess I don't have any other questions or statements, but I think it's really important to start with like you and not just the fitness part, but the like believing in you and finding clarity in you and like knowing your self-worth and knowing that like, you know, I listened to something too, like your worthiness isn't like connected to your business. So like, I mean, that when I heard that too, I was like, I feel like that was recently I've heard that. And I was like, holy crap. Like there's been so many years where I've tied like my worthiness to my business and like, oh, my business isn't at this point, like blah, 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 blah. Right. And like, I'm telling myself all these stories that it means about me. And really it has nothing to do with either. So just know that like, if you guys feel like you're not where you should be, and just dropping all the shoulds. I actually started a new book. Maybe that's where
is it about shoulds? Because I would love to read that book.
It's called Make It Happen. So, okay, and it's by Laura, I think is how she pronounced her name. Lara Casey. And it's the title of it or whatever subtitle is called Surrender Your Fears, Take the Leap, Live on Purpose. But I found her because I listened to a podcast, and you guys see me share this podcast all the stinking time because it's Bob Heilig's podcast. And I don't know if it's because I could just listen to him talk a lot. If you guys haven't, like, he's, like, good looking to look at. So, like, I enjoy being in his, like,
I like him.
Now I need to creep on him. He's the one that does the virtual upline podcast, right? Yeah. So I listen to his podcast, but I've never seen what he looks like.
And he has such good info on like network marketing, but doing it in a way that like is purpose driven, right? And that's what we want. We want to build a business of purpose, like a business of purpose, not just building a network marketing business to like make money. Like, yes, but in the end, you're never going to be on your deathbed being like, you know, I wish I would have made more money. You know, like you're going to be like, I wish I would have lived my purpose. I wish I would have found my purpose. I wish I would have, you know, it's going to be those things, not, I wish I would have spent more time on my network marketing business. You know, that's not what you're going to say on your deathbed. But so I was listening to a podcast that he had did, I think. Oh, it was the last one he did on choosing purpose over perfect. Choosing perfect.
Oh,
purpose over perfect.
That's good.
And she was the one who he had on there doing like an interview with, and it was super, super good. And so like I, on a whim, bought her book. So I was like, you know, I just felt called to. And so I started reading her book, and it's super good so far. So, but she basically talked about like, what if you just drop all the shoulds, you know, like, oh, I should be here, or I should be making this money, or I should be this rank, or I should be hitting Success Club, or I should be having this many people like my stuff, or I should, you know, post about a challenge group because somebody else posted about a challenge group, or I should, you know, blah, 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 blah. Like all these shoulds, like what if we just drop them? And you really like, basically what we're talking about is like getting clear on like what you want your business to look like, how you want to share, getting clear on your journey, getting clear on like your vision, how you want to get there, where you want to go. Like sometimes I feel like sometimes some of us don't even know where we want to go, you know, like if you don't know where you want to go, you don't have a vision, people perish. So it's just like, it's all the work that people don't want to do, and it's important to do, but it's also important to do like the work that's going to move your business forward. And I also listened to a call today from Steve Innes, and I wanted to share this with you guys too. And he was talking about the comp plan, which was kind of confusing. But something he had said in there was that, like, not enough coaches let their, like, gonna be Emerald coaches or, like, Emerald coaches that's like the hardest part of this business is Emerald. Not getting to Emerald, but being at Emerald. Because you're in this, like, not limbo, but you're in this place of, like, doing the work, right? Doing all the work, but you're not really, like, seeing the compensation of, like, doing all the work, right? So it's like he was talking about how, like, and not in a bad way, but just, like, when you get to Emerald, I don't even know how he, like, worded it. But when I was listening to it, I was like, yeah, like, Emerald is tough in this business because you're, like, in tough, not in a way that's, like, hard, like what you're doing is hard, but it's in this, like, I don't know if Claire, if you can understand.
Yeah, to me, like, it's easy to get to Emerald, but then there's this gap, and it feels like, I mean, Diamond is this big thing that you have to do all this stuff for, and it's actually really nothing because you don't ever stop at that anyway. Right. But to me, Emerald seems so easy, and then you have this long stretch to where you get to Diamond, and it's, like, made to be this really big thing because your upline wants to go, 5-star or 10-star or whatever. And so I felt that way anyway. Right. I felt pressure because I felt pressure to help people above me. So I feel like there's some pressure there, but that was a long time ago too. I feel like our team's not that way anymore at all. But
he was just talking about how, like, sometimes you hear people be like, oh, like, and I'm guilty of saying this. I'm sure I've said this to you guys, like, oh, when you get to Emerald, you get the team cycle bonus. And he was talking about how, like, building up coaches, like, get to Emerald, and when they get to Emerald, they're going to start seeing this money come in. And he's like, you don't. Like, you do get the opportunity for a team cycle, but normally when you get to Emerald, it's sometimes your mom and your husband. Well, they're not working coaches. They're not going to bring in all this volume, right? So he was just talking about how, like, being honest with your coaches and letting them know that, like, getting to Emerald is easy, but when you're in that Emerald, like, period of, like, working to Diamond, that's when a lot of people quit because it's like they feel like they're doing all this work, right? They're doing all this sewing. They're, like, talking to these people. They're working on their journey. They're sharing their journey, and it might take them longer to get to Diamond, and they're not necessarily seeing they're not reaping what they're maybe sowing, right? So that's, like, words of encouragement that, like, we all had to go through that, like, period of sowing for, like, getting to Emerald to Diamond. I don't even know if this is making sense, but he was talking about how, like, he has his coaches who want to build, focus on Diamond. Don't even focus on, like, getting to Emerald, because then it's like you almost have a roadblock before, like, Diamond. And he was just talking about how Diamond is where you really start, like, that's where you build your kind of, like, foundation, or, like, you open your business because you start, like, maybe bringing in business builders, or you kind of get, like, start seeing, like, a more of, like, a team cycle bonus kind of thing. I don't know where this is going, but words of encouragement because I know, like, you two have kind of just been, like doing the work, but feeling like, when am I going to reap what I'm sowing, right? And it comes, and just keep doing it,
Yeah. So do you feel like you're taking the action that you're, like, supposed to be taking, but you're not seeing the results? Is that kind of what you guys are feeling?
Sometimes. I know I should be working harder a lot of the times. Like, I'm not always doing what I should be doing.
Okay.
And mentally, I feel like sometimes I just, like, get discouraged. I'm like, I can't even reach Emerald. How the heck am I ever going to reach Diamond? Mm-hmm. It's like this mental barrier that I pick at, and it's probably keeping me from reaching Emerald because it's a mental thing.
Yeah. Are you having fun doing what you're doing?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
I mean, I love hosting challenge groups, and I always have challengers. I'm
good.
And I love all of it. It's not that I'm not enjoying it. I'm just struggling with getting other coaches, I guess, because I haven't struggled much with getting people to do challenge groups. But
do you feel resistance when you think about growing a team? Like, do you feel like something in your body that's kind of like something stops you, like there's confusion there maybe, or like you maybe don't understand the next steps? Or because for me, the thing is you can take all this action But if there's a belief in a way, that belief will trump any action and it will cut it off at the knees. And it because our beliefs are so powerful. So if there is a belief anywhere in Tiffany that says, I can't, or I'm not enough, or I'm not a good leader, if there's anything like that, it'll cut you off at the knees and it'll fuck you every time. So that's probably where I would look next.
Okay.
And I feel like we've talked about that a little bit, and it's just diving deep down into like where that came from and like why it maybe is keep coming up. Like mine for a long time was everybody was going to leave me. Like
I remember that, and people did leave you.
Oh yeah. I've had 3 or 4 diamond coaches leave our team. Diamond coaches, you guys, they built to diamond and they left. I've had a 3-star diamond coach leave our team. And so like
do they go to another team, or what do they do? They just quit?
Yep. Basically. Some of them quit. One of them quit for a year and then came back. Yep, under somebody else, which is still our team. So not a super big deal. But like that was a huge fear that like dug into my leadership. Like I am not a good leader. Everybody's going to like leave me, or I'm going to bring on coaches and I'm going to like mentor them and like guide them and pour my heart into them and become like friends with them and like whatever. And then they're going to leave. Like, so that it took me like, I wasn't bringing on people who wanted to build a business because I had that belief that like they were all going to leave me. Right. So like thinking about that, and I know we've talked about like leadership for you, right? Like, wasn't it like, you're not a good leader? Some one of those, one of those things. So like,
I just feared that I didn't have it in me. That I just fear that I don't have it in me. Like I just, because I'm such a people pleaser and I always want to make everyone happy, that I'm afraid that I'm not going to have that like.
So
that tough love, basically.
I struggle with tough love too, though. But
yeah.
Claire, where would you say like to start from there if she already knows like what her limiting belief is?
Yeah. The things I ask myself when I have those fears is I'm like, what am I letting this mean about me? What am I letting this mean? Like, what am I letting this fear mean about me? You know what I mean? And like, what would happen if you grew this team and you failed them? If you weren't enough, right? Like if you weren't able to lead them, like what would happen? And just like ask yourself those hard questions and just like feel into that. And like, if you feel tears, let them come out. Like tears are like, I've spent the past year crying legit. And I still like, I cried at the grocery store. I grabbed some chili seasoning and I just started crying. And my husband's like, what's the matter? I was like, I just have to cry. And I have healthy emotions now. But I think sometimes we just get this like wrong message and we take it on as our own and it's not ours. And so maybe you're operating on something else that isn't yours. And when you have that aha, you're going to be like, oh, and it'll provide you so much clarity. So whatever is in you that is preventing you from being that leader, it'll prevent you from being that leader until you kind of dig into that. And it might feel like shame, it might feel like fear, it might feel like grief, or any of those kind of really uncomfortable feelings, but go there. And the good stuff, the real good juicy growth is under those kind of icky feelings.
And I feel like I guess I feel like the only way to do that is journaling.
Yes, if that's what journal. I take my journal out and I word vomit. Everything that's on my head, I just write it out. And it's so healing. It's so therapeutic because it's basically, or if you have, the other thing that I do is I go driving and I talk to myself like I would talk to God or to, and I end up crying because it just comes up. Whatever it is that's bothering me. I think a lot of times it's like right there, but we just keep shoving. So opening that door, I think, is really going to help you just to kind of get to that next level.
And I feel like you said, you have to somehow get it out, like verbalizing it out, like speaking, instead of like most of the time we just maybe like we recognize it here, but then we don't do anything with it. We just we shove it, or we just like, oh, recognize it, but then we don't like actually like get it out of us.
Yes.
Something with, or not even to do anything with. Sometimes we just have to like speak it out, even if it's to nobody, and it's gone. And you're like, whoa, I feel so different just getting that like getting it out of me, right? So it's just crazy. So
my dad would say, Claire, feelings just want to be felt. And when you feel them, the thoughts and the feelings and everything just kind of like disappear. They only want to be felt, and they will demand to be felt until you feel them.
So do
or
dogs.
It'll anxiety and stuff. Huh? What'd you say?
So do dogs.
He's a mess.
He's like, I just want to be felt, Mom.
You guys, he's our annoying husky.
Anything else you guys can think of? I feel like that was super good.
It was really good, guys.
And then I'll end it here. So thank you, Claire. And then we can talk about like the sneak peek really quick.
Sneak peek.